Okay, everyone, we did it. Yes, I love technology. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to High Speed Healing Wednesdays. Hi to all the people on our Zoom webinar today, and hello to everyone on Facebook as well. It's such a pleasure to have you guys here, and I've been so looking forward to this call because my friend tonight who is with me, Margie Bissinger, did you guys know there's such a thing as a happiness trainer? This woman, look at her. She just radiates happiness. And she's my special guest tonight. And I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. She is a colleague, but she is a friend. And I admire her. And I'm just so excited to have Margie with us tonight. Margie's a physical therapist, an integrative health coach, and a happiness trainer. Now, I never knew there was such a thing. I met Margie, I think 3 years ago at this huge event, a health event in Southern California. And I was there to offer the high-speed healing, the energy healing to the group. And she walked in with a client of hers and started participating in this group experience. And afterwards, she came up to me and she was just like, filled with energy and bubbling, and she really resonated with the energy healing. And you know how sometimes you meet someone and instantly there's just that instant rapport, you love them immediately, and that's how it's been with Margie ever since. And I'm just so grateful to have you here tonight, Margie. And Margie's going to share with us a lot of very interesting things about happiness, especially now with what the heck is going on in the world. I know some people were pretty shocked that I would even be talking about happiness. How dare you be happy when the world is miserable and out of work and going broke and freaking out and full of anxiety? And yet this is the perfect week for you to be here. So welcome to our call, to our community. It is just from the bottom of my heart, so happy you're here.
Oh, Deborah, thank you so much. I am so beyond excited to be here. Let's just go back 3 years ago. I walked into this room and I was there a couple minutes late because I was helping someone's neck. And I didn't know what I walked into. Like the whole room I walked in, I'm like, what is going on? I felt this massive energy. So I just laid down and it was the most amazing experience. And afterwards, because I'm an energy person, I walked up to her and said, Deborah, I've never experienced anything like that. And I just also had this incredible instant rapport and just amazing feelings towards you. So it's just been, I feel the same way about you. And I'm just really, all day I felt the same way. I just couldn't wait to the vibes just to be here with you in this community. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh my God, such a pleasure. I've really been feeling it all day. So Margie, this is a couple of interesting things about her that I want you to know. She oversees all, I repeat, all of the osteoporosis initiatives in the state of New Jersey as the physical therapy representative to the New Jersey Interagency Council on Osteoporosis. How cool is that? And tonight, we're going to dive into some pretty interesting questions, including, because her specialty are your bones. And your bones and happiness are interconnected. I find that very, very interesting. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. So I have a million questions for you.
Okay, let's go.
And the first one, though, that I want to start with is, how the heck did you ever, how did you get into dealing with bones, first of all, and happiness training? Like, how does that even come about?
Okay, well, the happiness training actually came first. So I'll start with that. Yeah. That's a really, really crazy story because that started back in my 20s, like early 20s. And I had just gotten married, which should have been the greatest, happiest time of my life. Yeah. But it wasn't, because I found out day 2 of my honeymoon that the person I had married had been seeing someone else the entire engagement.
Oh my God.
So, right. And it happened because we were living in different cities. They didn't have cell phones. Not going to go into the whole story. But anyway, things didn't work out. And so I moved to Chicago, and I'm from the East Coast. But anyway, I moved to Chicago working as a physical therapist with chronic pain, with TMJ, with back pain, neck pain. My patients were absolutely miserable. They were in just pain, and people were really as unhappy as you can get. And they would say to me, Margie, you're so happy. What's your secret? And I thought at that moment, and I thought to myself, if they only knew what I had just gone through, they would never be saying this.
Yeah.
But it hit me at that moment that happiness is not based on your external circumstances, and it's an internal job. And once that, and then I said, you know what?
It's so true. It's so true. Go on. This is so
Because most people think that. Most people think, I'll be happy when? I'll be happy when I make all that money, when I change jobs, when I'm in the better relationship. But at that moment, it hit me that the truth was, I was happy, even though I had gone through this absolutely horrible situation.
Yeah.
And what was it, though, why was I happy? And I realized now I call them happiness habits. At the time, I wasn't sure, but I knew it was about certain practices that I'd been doing. I said, what the heck? I'm going to start teaching them to my patients. What got me through this? And I couldn't believe it. Like miracles started happening.
Wow.
Back pain, neck pain got better so much quicker than with just traditional physical therapy. And then I started seeing people come alive. All of a sudden, there was joy back in their life, and it was amazing. And so since that time, I've incorporated that into everything I do. And that was around 35 years ago. But I've gotten a lot more training. I studied positive psychology, and then I actually worked with a mentor, Marcie Bissinger, and that's where I went through her training program. So that's how I'm the happiness certified trainer.
Yeah.
And now I teach happiness classes, but it's been part of my physical therapy and integrated health coaching, everything, because it's all connected.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started with that. How I got into the bones was that when I moved to New Jersey, I was working in private practice. I had my own private practice, actually, and we were living in Chicago prior to that. And anyway, so I'm in New Jersey, and I'm seeing patients, and then some doctors wanted to send me their osteoporosis patients. And at that time, it was before Fosamax. It was a long time ago. Yeah. And I said, sure. And I started seeing these people, and they were doing everything incorrectly in terms of exercise. They were doing exercises that actually increased their risk of spinal fractures. Wow. So I got really involved and just felt, you know what? They didn't know where to go. They were going to, the internet wasn't around then. So they were getting magazines, trainers, and not all the trainers knew what to do. So people were actually injuring themselves. So that's what got me on the state level to get involved with the state and even nationally as well. And I wrote a book then, just try to spread the word so that people weren't injuring themselves. So that's how that happened.
Oh my God. So there's a lot of people on the call tonight who are in my pain-free living program and in my community or have taken my program. They know how I feel that everything's interconnected. So if you heard what Margie just said, would you type yes in the chat or on Facebook, please? Because you've got to understand this interconnection of everything and how your happiness is not dependent on outside circumstances. I really want to emphasize what you said. Happiness is not dependent on outside circumstances. And yet that's where we all get bogged down, right? That's where everybody gets stuck. Well, if that, had not done that to me, if this were better, if I had more of XYZ, I would be happy. And it's this illusion that we're chasing, right? To just keep chasing this external. And then I've gotten one of those externals. And I'm still not happy, right?
It's so funny. Absolutely, Deborah, because they've actually studied this. I mean, there's something called the Happiness Setpoint. It's like your base level of happiness, and it's different for everybody. And the best news, science has studied that you can raise this. That's what's so very exciting. It's not, most people have like a thermostat where your base level of happiness, where it hovers at. And they've shown when people win the lottery, wow, maybe they're happy for a year or something, but then it comes back. And same thing when they've even had serious injuries, it still comes back. But guess what percent? Actually, I want people to write in the chat. What percent of your happiness set point is based on your circumstances?
We're getting so many people relating to this that are going,
good.
It doesn't come from outside. But what percentage do you think, too much, too much, they said, 2%, Nancy says, 80%, Allison says, Sandra thinks 80%. What percent, you guys, do you think is based on your external? What if you won the lottery? Imagine that. Margie?
Are you ready for the answer?
Yeah.
The answer is 10%.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
it's 50% is genetics, but now they even find with epigenetics that we can alter that. And what do people think 40% is? What do you think? Anyone have an idea what 40% is based on?
What do you think 40% is based on? So if 10%, okay. Attitude, Nancy says.
Okay, and the answer is, drum roll, habits.
Habits. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I always teach this. Tell me if I'm in sync with you. Your thinking is connected to emotions. Your emotions are underneath every choice that you make. Your choices, if you repeat, become a habit, and your habits create patterns, and your patterns create your whole damn life.
You got it, Deborah. You're 100%. That's exactly it. Exactly.
So are you telling us then literally that happiness is a habit? Because I want to explore this. I grew up in a family where, I'm telling you, my grandfather never smiled. My grandfather came from Russia, and he came to the US because he wanted to escape communism, and he wanted his family to have a greater life. He wasn't allowed to bring any money with him. He gave up his business. He never saw his relatives, his sister again, his family. He left with nothing. He had to pay off the police. This man, and he didn't speak the language. He did start an amazing business, and then he raised three sons. His wife dies when my father was 5 years old. So his wife dies. Here he is. He doesn't even speak English. He can't, I mean, can you imagine like the hardship, right?
Wow.
But he still manages to create a business, to raise three sons on his own. But this man never smiled. He would come every Friday night to our house for dinner, and I would watch him. As I remember as a little girl, and like he scared me because he never smiled. And the people that don't smile are especially to children, you can feel their vibe. So, and then my father was very similar. Now, my father became a jokester and really funny, but when no one was looking, my father always looked kind of depressed and like he wasn't smiling. So what if you grow up in an environment where it's not happy? People are not laughing, they're not happy. What kind of an impact would that have on our own happiness?
It really does, because that's very important. The people we surround ourselves affect us. It's contagious. I mean, we actually have something called mirror neurons that mirror that you try to imitate other people, and it's actually with the emotions too. And so sure, that's going to affect you, because if we're surrounding, or it's sort of like a garden, you know, if you surround yourself with gardenias or weeds, I mean, unfortunately, it really does affect you. So sure, that's going to have an impact on your happiness.
Interesting. I'm just getting word that Facebook stopped and I need to record again. All right, sorry to interrupt this great
that's okay.
question here, because I always grew up with this sense of this impending doom that was, you know, like lurking in the background. And it's what you're talking about. It's that there was just this feeling in the air, and it was very, very uncomfortable. And I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. And no one was talking about it, but I could feel it all the time. And I have had to work very hard in my life, because I noticed after my health crashed and burned many, many years ago, and I started on a healing journey, that my default, even when everything was going great, my default would be to go back into feeling kind of blue. I remember as a little girl, we'd be on the beach at vacation and I was feeling blue. And that's from what you're talking about. The environment that we're soaking in is what I call it. When you're little is imprinting emotionally and energetically, I believe, in our biofield. That's what we're finding when I scan the field and feel those disturbances. That's why people can't often get out of it, because it's from way back. They don't even remember or know how they imprinted this depression, this feeling, right? Am I onto
So
it?
interesting from your perspective, having that ability to sense that and
Yeah.
that to bring that, that's great, Deborah. But the habits are different than what happiness is. It's just when you learn like the habits of happy people, or when you learn different habits, that can help elevate your happiness.
So
So,
what's an example of a happiness habit?
okay, there's lots of happiness habits.
Okay.
But for example, one is, are you a victim or are you a victor? So I think that's one of the big ones. And I think that's what got me through. You know, when people are in victimhood, that is just the fastest way to zap your happiness. Because, you know, when you feel, oh, poor me, nothing's going to work right. But
No,
when you change that around, and how do you know? You know, people, how do I know if I'm a victim? Three things: blame, shame, which is self-blame, and complain.
oh my
And
God.
especially now with everything going on, everybody's blaming everybody. So
Oh,
that's all. But
so
that's
blame, say that again. Let's everybody, did you get that? Blame,
blame,
shame, which is
shame,
how you're gonna feel.
which is shame is self-blame, which people do that a lot.
All the
And then complain. Everybody knows what that is.
So this is again why we're so simpatico. In my programs, I talk about how you get stuck in that blame game. If you think that it's always they did this to me, or this has to change, or that, you're leaking all your power away, is the way I say it. Because if they have to change in order for me to be happy or different or whatever, then all the power is in their hands, and I'm stuck as a victim, and there's just no future for me. It keeps.
Exactly. I love that. The thing is, if you can, and it's just a switch, because I find myself sometimes like, oh, poor me, or you're in a situation, or we can all think that right now with coronavirus, oh, poor us.
Right.
But then you say, you know what, I'm going to be a victor in this situation and not a victim. And it's focusing on, instead of the problem, which gets you nowhere. When you focus on what's wrong, you're just going to go in circles.
Mm.
And you can talk about it till you're blue in the face, but you're not getting anywhere. So what's the solution? And I think that makes such a big difference. And I think that's how I got through that situation. Again, I was young in my 20s, but, you know, not blaming and not saying, oh, poor me. I didn't say that for 1 minute. I'm like, okay, this is a situation. Now, what can I do? Or what, you know, instead of focusing on what the problem, what can you do?
I
And
love
so I think that's one of the, like, that's one of the habits. Be a victor, not a victim.
into the solution. I love that. I love that. But Margie, so, you know, it is really tough out there right now. And a lot of people overnight, their entire lives change. They got laid off from work, don't even know when the next paycheck will come. What do you do in a dramatic situation like that? Like, is it really possible to still stay happy, and even when those circumstances are challenging? Like, how do you deal with that?
I think the definition of happy that I use
Yeah.
is that it's an inner state of peace and well-being that's not dependent on your external circumstances. So it's not a Pollyanna, oh, the world's fabulous and there's no problems. You know, of course you're going to be angry, frustrated, sad. People have emotions,
Yeah.
but underlying that, you have the basic sense of peace and well-being. So
Mm.
I think that I think the best way to handle things is to live in the present.
Mm.
Because, and what can you do, to focus on what you can do right now,
Yeah.
versus, you know, whenever we live in the future, oh no, what can happen and this and that, that's just fear-based, and that brings unhappiness. So the best thing, I think, again, I mean, there are real problems, and I have tremendous empathy for people and everybody. You know, where my husband is a physician, he's seeing patients constantly. I mean,
Yeah.
I have friends whose parents have died. You know, I know a lot of things have happened with this. So
Yeah.
it's not that la-di-da things are great. It's a very, very, very challenging time. But a couple things I think have really helped get through this with people. And what I've seen, which has been so great, is that people who've been in my classes or have taken my happiness class have told me that certain things, you become resilient. It's not that it's not affecting you, but
Yeah.
when you build up your own internal sense of happiness or these habits, you can ride the waves much, much better. It's not that it's not going to affect you,
Mhm.
but I think when you focus on what you can do and what, you know, each step, you don't have to look all the way in the future, but
Yeah.
okay, so for now I can do this, this, this,
Yeah.
and what's good, you
Yeah.
know, if you can focus on, instead of, you know, if something you say right now, life is at a, you know, on a scale of 0 to 10, life's at a 2. Well, why is it a 2 and not a 0? And what are you doing to make it a 2? And then just do more of that. So I think when we can try to accent the positive, what is working, it really, really makes a difference, and people are able to weather the storm.
I love that. You know, I talk to a lot of people every day like you who are in a lot of pain. And it's interesting how and I get it, I've been there, when you're in a lot of pain, it's so easy to focus on the pain. Just get rid of the pain. It's so bad. Stop it. How do I stop it, Deborah? And yet the pain isn't always 100% constant for most people. There are even sometimes just moments where the pain doesn't exist. So if it can be on and if it can be off, that means it could be off more often. And, you know, we know from physics, this is always so interesting to me, that the physical reality isn't a constant, that everything is energy, and energy is constantly changing form, which is why it can seem to be here and then not be here. Even, you know, when they do x-rays and MRIs, I've had clients with cancer who say they go to the doctor, they get the MRI, it shows tumors. Then they go back to get a second opinion, there's no tumors. Now, how the heck does that happen? It's because things really are changing. And we are obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious, to me it's obvious, that we're participating more than we realize on what is showing up in the physical reality, in the physical body, in our physical life. Now, I come from the belief and the understanding that the physical is the effect, not the cause. It's the effect of the invisible world, which is our thoughts, our attitudes, our emotions. That's what you're talking about here. And it can change like that, right?
You know, it's so interesting. I completely agree. And as a physical therapist, that was the other thing. When I started working on patients, and you would see their muscles, like once, also another huge thing is obviously mindset and thoughts. Our thoughts, as you just said, control everything. And so once people started changing things, all of a sudden muscles would loosen, you know, you could feel the difference. And it was amazing, as just like you said, the physical manifestation of all of these things, of what we're thinking, of our thoughts. So sure, when we're focusing on the pain, we're just going to exacerbate it.
And I know when I'm happy, even when I go to exercise or do yoga or do anything, it could be cleaning the house. When I start out feeling in a good place, happy already, it doesn't seem to matter what I'm doing. I'm just bringing the happiness to the event. But if I am not in a good place emotionally or mentally, I could be on vacation or, you know, on a shopping spree or whatever it is. And I would be miserable. I would not find anything good about it.
I think that's similar for most people. It's true. It's your state of mind. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. It can, you bring that with you, whether you bring the joy or,
or who you're with, right? Like, it's just so amazing how nothing changes. I can be doing the same activity with the same person, and one day I just love it and I love them, and the next day it's like, jerk, God, this is so boring. You know, it's totally, nothing's changed but me somehow, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Our thoughts are so, so important.
So you said something earlier I want to circle back to because it really is fascinating to me. You used the term happiness set point. I have not heard that before. Would you elaborate on that? What the heck is a happiness set point? Where do you get it? And how do we expand it?
Right. So basically they discovered this. There was research that was done that we all have our base level of happiness. And some people are, you know, it's very different. There are people who, you know, who are glass half full. There are people who are glass half empty. And regardless of what happens, we have that. However, we can change that by doing these different habits and by adopting habits that happy people have. You can elevate that, which is so exciting. And I've seen that where it doesn't matter where you start, you can improve it. And that's what's really exciting, because not everybody is happy. I mean, there are people very different levels, and it's just, and you take it one step at a time. And, but so yes, so you can change that happiness set point, which is really, that's been the most exciting thing, working with people and seeing how when they do increase their happiness,
Yeah.
that everything changes. It's,
Yeah.
their physical being changes,
Mm.
their just every single aspect of their life. And it's
Yeah.
fun. It's so much fun. That's the great part. Because we want life to be fun. If it's not fun, then then something's wrong here. We need to change things, because nobody should be not enjoying this one life that we have,
Exactly, right? Who wants to get to the end of life and go, God, that was just horrible? It's like, what a waste of energy to me. So can you give us some specific examples you've seen of how your happiness training, I'll tell you guys more about this later on too. And Margie has special gifts for you. So you want to stay for the whole call tonight, and I'm going to guide us through a happiness meditation as well.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
But Margie, how have you seen literally physically that your happiness training has shown up as an improvement in health? And tie in the bones here, because that's just fascinating to me.
Sure. Well, with osteoporosis, it's interesting because people will come to see me, and a lot of times people were referred from their endocrinologist, and they would come for the exercise and the nutrition, and they're so worried. Oh my gosh, am I doing the right exercise? Am I eating the right food? That they don't realize that the stress itself, they've done studies, and the cortisol actually reduces the osteoblasts, which are the bone building cells. So there's a correlation. They've done studies on this with stress. They've also done studies showing life satisfaction is correlated with bone density. So there's actual physical reasons for the bones. And in terms of everything, they find that happier people are 35% less likely to get sick.
Wow.
When
so
people
it's
are
affecting the immune system is what you're
immune system, absolutely.
Wow.
Sleep disorders are 47% higher in people who are unhappy.
Wow.
And happy people on an average live 9 years longer. They did this
God.
big study with nuns. Yeah, so there's real physical, and cortisol, as you know, the stress hormone, is 32% lower in people who are happy. And so every aspect of your health is affected.
Wow. Are you guys hearing this? Are you guys like, if you can relate, resonate, I bet you can feel it too. Have you ever had that feeling when you're not happy, and how it just feels like your body's heavier, even my skin feels saggier. I'm not kidding you. When I am not happy, I just feel like I'm carrying around the weight of the world. See, we're getting capital letters. So true. Yes, I relate to that. Listen to this. This is so good. 10% from the outside, 40%, 50. Oh, I love it. There's so many people that are relating. I can relate. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. This all fits, right? Let me check a few more of these comments. So Bev is saying, my grandmother looked so sad in all of her photos, never smiling. I wonder what was really going on inside her. She was a good person, always doing charitable things. Margie, I want to talk about this too, because I've really found in working with people all over the world that, and I see this in my own personal healing journey, that I pretended for a long time that I was happy when I wasn't. And I think a lot of people inwardly, they're very unhappy, and they hide it. They hide it from others, or they attempt to. They hide it from others. They attempt to hide it from themselves. I think this is underlying for a lot of the over drinking, over pill popping, over eating, over sleeping, over spending, over sexing, over gambling. Like, people are trying to medicate this feeling that they don't know how to release, and they're not happy. So what do you see, comment on that, and what do you think is the biggest cause of unhappiness? You've talked about the me syndrome, but talk a little further about all this.
I think people don't do the internal work. I think we get so busy in our lives, and you just get so in society, in your job, in what people are saying, and I just don't think we do the internal work, or even to do things inwardly, just to get yourself calm, and to just, I know me personally, this is sort of a little different, but so I was always a happy person. I mean,
I have to interject. When I posted on Facebook that Margie was my guest, one of her friends from like grade school said, Margie's been happy forever. She's been happy since she was a little girl. And I thought that was so adorable. Like, it's clearly your path to be a happiness trainer.
I was always happy, but interesting enough, but I wasn't a relaxed person. And so I was, working as a physical therapist, I was shoving food in to the next patient and running around like a lunatic. And then I decided there was this mindfulness meditation, the John Kabat-Zinn program, and that I was going to take it. And anyway, I got a speeding ticket, like the beginning of the class on the way to meditation. And that hit me in the head, like, oh my gosh. And so then I realized, you know what, I am not being authentic. I am not practicing what I preach at all. And so once I started it and I took that class as though it was like my life and took it so seriously. And since that time, I've been doing regular practices. I have a whole major practice, but I think that's important. I think we need to stop, do things for ourselves and just nourish ourselves. And also, if we're not doing our passion, it's time sometimes just reassess your life and see, because a lot of people really everybody has passions and everybody has gifts. And if you're not using those gifts, and it may not be in your job, it may not, but then in other parts of your life, like I see there's a big disconnect. Sometimes people feel this is what they have to do and I'm making money, and they're just in this pattern that just keeps going. So I think sometimes we need to just stop, reassess everything if we're feeling so unhappy and, so I think
that is so brilliant. So a couple things I have to share here. So I got to a place in a previous career where I literally was so unhappy I didn't even want to walk into my office. And I remembered an uncle of mine had said to me when I was very young, he was an attorney, and he said, if I ever get to my office and don't want to go in, I know there's something really wrong and I need to look at and reassess what the hell I'm doing with my life. So I took a time out and I ended up changing everything. I literally reinvented everything. And I know that people get stuck because of the money. I have to do this because of the money. It's as if they only see one option for working that will bring them revenue. And I can't tell you how many clients who were diagnosed with things like chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, inflammation, arthritis. And guess what I found? They hated their job most of the time. They hated it, but they had this belief that they had to do it because it was the only thing they could do. And I would challenge that, or at least I love what you said, which if you choose to do that job, then at least balance your life by creating the hobbies that give you time to do your passions. Because otherwise that's your spirit, everybody, and that's going to fizzle out. And you're a spiritual being, not just a worker, a slave to physical reality. You're a spirit. It's got to be nourished, right?
Well, that's so beautiful. Also, being a physical therapist and just being into the body, another thing, sometimes we're so disconnected to our bodies. But I always tell people to sort of tune in. How does it make you feel? Like there's two energies, one of contraction, and one of expansion. And can we do something fun, Debora?
Yes.
For a minute? Okay, everybody on the call.
I'm smiling at this. This is so spot on.
What I want you to do is I want you to tighten your fists and really get in bad posture, bring your shoulders in and frown, or not, you don't have to frown, but just really, really cuddle into a ball, like, so you're really in bad contracted posture. And I want you to say, I feel happy.
Oh God. I feel happy. No, I don't think so.
And now expand your arms and up in the air and take a breath in and say, I feel miserable.
I feel miserable. Isn't that amazing? Okay, I love this. Your posture alone, right?
Absolutely. So there's two energies. You want to sort of review your life. If you feel you really are super unhappy, make a list of things you're doing, and does it make you feel contracted and contracted, or does it make you feel expanded? And the more you tune into this, it's like your own internal GPS, and it really works. And you can sort of see what are you doing in your life, because you want to do things that cause expansion. It makes such a big difference.
Wow. You know what? I think this should be at the core of what everyone's taught in school. It should be taught in every doctor's office. This is the core. We have that inner GPS, I call it, and it's connected to your feeling nature. And your feeling nature is how your intuition talks to you. And so if you're not feeling, if you're not sensing exactly and doing what you said, you're going to be out of alignment with your blueprint, with your natural rhythm, with your natural state of health. And there's either ease or there's dis-ease. It's really that simple. And when you're not in ease, you're not going to thrive. And so then if you go back to the money piece, how could you possibly be thriving in financial abundance or abundance of any other kind if you're contracted, you're hating what you're doing, and you're not living your passion, which is part of your blueprint? It doesn't even make logical sense that this would work.
It's so true. And a lot of times we just don't think about our bodies, right? I'm sure you see this all the time with the work you do,
Yeah.
But it's just, we're busy and we're occupied and we're just going through the motions. And so that's just so very, very true what you said. And it's just a matter of starting to sort of think how things are making you feel and going with that intuition, because the more you develop that, and it makes such a difference. It really does.
And it's like a muscle, right? Once you develop it, once you're aware of it, first of all, you can change it. Once you start practicing, not perfecting, but practicing new habits, over time, that's how the brain gets rewired, with repetition of new habits. And then before you know it, you're better at it. You've exercised the muscle. It's more automatic. And you have a different habit pattern going on, right? Am I on my own?
You're so on. And that's what I teach with happiness, that when you learn these habits, because so many people have the opposite habit, like with negative thoughts and different things that totally absorb them, and that's their life. So when you start replacing these with other ways of living, it's amazing what happens.
Now, what about, I work with a lot of people also, I'm sure you do too, or I don't know, maybe they don't reveal all this, but they do in my work, where they really have been around a lot of abuse or violence or neglect. I'm sure you've seen this, right? And can somebody who's really had a severely difficult upbringing, or even later in life, or even like, what about car accidents? I've had clients with repeated head injuries and things from car accidents. I mean, this stuff is not, it hurts, okay, on many levels. So I believe the body is designed to heal itself. But do you agree that you can still, no matter how severe, that we can still help ourselves by changing these habits and getting happier habits, which then again, as you were saying, will communicate with the physical reality? Would you talk about that?
Yes, I mean, I do think the habits help. I also think that oftentimes people need intervention, like you clear things for people all the time. Yeah. So I think that sometimes there are blocks that they need more intervention. So for example, the work that you do is very helpful, is amazingly helpful. And I think so many people have gotten better because of the work you've done when they've been stuck. So I think it's a combination. I think, yes, I mean, the happiness work can help everybody. There's not a question. But I think, and for example, on a physical, if you've been in car accidents, you may need something called like myofascial release or craniosacral. You may actually have to go back and do things with the fascia where there might be memories, or there might be physical things that actually can help you as well as mentally. You may need to do more work. So it depends on the person. Yeah. I think that many people people do get over these things. And a lot of times then they have a better life because they've addressed things that they never addressed. Or I'm sure the people you see all the time, you'll find things, then there's other things and they didn't realize, wow.
Exactly. No, it's like a domino effect. And well, I think of it like a thread. When you have a thread in your sweater and you pull it, and it pulls out all this, makes a whole big hole in the sweater, connected to so many other things that we aren't aware of because of what you said earlier. We're just busy. We're distracting ourselves from the real deeper work. which is usually connected to our emotions. And people are afraid to go back and feel old situations, old pain, old emotional pain. They don't want to do it. So they try to distract themselves. But you guys, this is why I wanted Margie to be here, because we can retrain ourselves. We can start looking out a different window. You can learn to be a glass half full. Even if you grew up with glass half empty or glass empty, you can retrain the muscle. And I am a firm believer that what you do in here is what you're going to see and experience out here. And so happiness training that Margie literally teaches, she has a program. It's called
It's called Happy Me, Happy Life.
Happy Life.
My osteoporosis program is Happy Bones, Happy Life. So I thought, and I teach some of the happiness in that program, but I wanted just a whole major happiness program.
Yeah, so she literally has a happiness program, which I want everyone to take, because if you're in pain, and no one's in my community because they're like feeling great, they're usually here because they came with some sort of pain. And the happiness program is absolutely integral to releasing pain, to shifting it. In fact, I want to mention Dr. Norman Cousins. He was many years ago, I think it was back in the 1970s, he was diagnosed with a very rare form of arthritis that was actually, it could kill you, this particular form. And they told him he would never recover. There was no cure, blah, blah, blah. You've all heard this one. He decided, no, I don't agree with this. And he decided to treat himself. And he watched Marx Brothers comedy movies for 2 hours a day. Margie, you're going to love this. For 2 hours a day. And he found for every 2 hours of comedy, he got 4 hours of pain relief, physical pain relief. Now, the body, as we know, it's a pharmacy. The body is releasing chemicals all the time, and it's connected to our thoughts and our emotions. So he was completely healed of this. They call him the father of laughter therapy because of this. And it's just remarkable to me. And so I always like to share that with people, because happiness, joy, laughter, these are the highest vibrations there are. And so many people write to me, and when I say, well, what do you really want? Instead of focusing on the pain, what do you really want? You know, the first thing they tell me, I want more joy. I want more ease. I want freedom. Joy is always at the top of the list.
You know, so interesting. I think part of the big problem is our thoughts, and that's, you know, ready? Let's ask a question. What % of our thoughts do you think are negative? Let's see what people say.
Isn't it different for different people? Because I mean,
general, in general, overall, what % of our thoughts for the average person are negative?
80%, 35%, 80%.
Oh, people know the answer is 80%.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing that came to my mind, I know years ago, I could have guaranteed it was 90% or more. Now I'd like to think I've improved. I'm sure, I know I have, but 90%, I walked around most of the time. That was probably one of my biggest discoveries, was that most of my thoughts were on what's wrong, what's going to be wrong, what was always wrong. You know, it was on the negative.
Well, you know what? We're wired that way, though, because way back to the caveman days, we had to be way more aware if there was a tiger lurking in the background than if someone was saying something nice to us. And so that's how we're wired. We're truly wired for negativity. And they found that the happiest people have it the opposite way, that they're more wired for positivity. And so, because think of that, you know, if you get 20 compliments and one criticism, what do you focus on, right?
Exactly, right? Exactly. In fact, I remember another moment, my father, oh my God, it was the 3rd grade, I think, and I came home with a report card, and it was all A's and 1 B, and my father, he got this look, his look, real serious. Why'd you get a B? Why'd you get a B? And I remember just being so angry. I was angry about that. I chewed on that resentment for years, because there was no positive, like, why'd you get all the A's?
But that's it. So that's it. So that's where we can rewire. That we can start rewiring instead of, and you really can change your neural pathways. That's what's really exciting.
Love it.
And so you start rewiring for the positive.
All right,
And
so give us some real practical things we can do today that everybody watching or everybody listening to the recording later, give us some more tips. We want action, Margie.
Okay, so let's talk about the thoughts, because I think that's huge. You know, if we're walking around with a cloud of negativity and everything we do is terrible and horrible, that's what we're going to manifest. Like what you focus on grows. So if we're focusing on everything being terrible and all the negativity, that's what's going to grow in our life. So, okay, so it's number one is to look for the good. And so you pretend you're a detective, that you're actually looking for the good. So often there's a million wonderful things happening and we're not even looking for it. So just start looking for what's good and what's happening, and sort of even taking breaks to like, oh yeah, you know, appreciate that. But if you can't, if you're someone that there's just nothing good, then maybe give awards away. Like say you're going to give 5 awards away for the best something. So the cutest dog, the nicest person, like each day just create something where you're seeing good in the day.
I love that. Did you guys say that? Give away awards. That is so cool.
Don't really do it, but in your head, you know, think, okay, I'm going to have 5 Academy Awards for whatever it is.
Yeah.
So just so you start seeing what's good, because so often, you know, unfortunately, people are living in a situation where they're not seeing the good. So number one is to start looking for a good, be a detective. Number one. Then when you see something good or something good happens, absorb it, because it takes a while to get this new neural pathway. Absorb it for at least 20 seconds.
Wow.
So what that means, if someone gives you a compliment, like, Deborah, you are an absolutely amazing healer. Instead of saying, oh no, it's nothing.
Right. That's what I used to, you know, you push away all compliments.
Take it in. You know, I've worked really hard to develop my skills. I'm so happy I'm helping people all over the world and changing lives. And just take it in, absorb it. You see a gorgeous sunset, instead of just like, oh, take a picture and you're done.
Yeah.
Stop, take it in. So when something good happens, acknowledge it, celebrate it, and take it in for 20 seconds.
You guys hearing this? This is so good.
And then the third one, I'll give you one more tip for the thoughts, because these really, really work. And it's not going to happen immediately, but it really will start happening. And actually, I do a happiness meditation. That's one of the gifts. And it's a morning meditation. It's 7 minutes. But I go into, okay, so, you know, something about looking for the good in your day, just to sort of start programming you to look this way. And then the third one is that for every negative thought, now again, we have to deal with things, and there's ways to, you know, it's not as though you just push away what's not good. That doesn't work. There are techniques for that. But when you get a negative thought, instead of absorbing it, you know, okay, I have that thought, then think of 3 positive but true things. So for every 1 negative, think of 3 positive but true things. And that really helps. That will, you know, you start doing those things. I guarantee in a couple of weeks, you'll really start noticing a difference. And,
you know, I love this, because you're not telling us to pretend that the negative stuff the challenges aren't happening, because that does not work, right? It just,
and you need techniques. There are techniques to deal with the negative too, but you're so right. It doesn't work. And you can't just push something under the covers and just think, you know, that's it. No.
I find why people get stuck and blocked, and their pain is worse, because they really are not feeling their feelings fully. Their thoughts are, you know, negative, and they're not releasing them properly. But what you're saying is, okay, let's get real. Life is what it is. There are things about life we don't like. Nobody said you have to like it all. But to be a victim of it, to blame, that's what keeps us stuck. So, okay, we feel it, we don't like it, we start looking at number one, the solution. You said that's a huge tip. Get into the solution right away. Don't dwell and keep watering the lawn on the problem. Get over into the solution right away. And for every negative, look for 3 positives to counterbalance, because otherwise, like you said, also, you just get more of what you're focused on, because it's energy, everybody. What do you hear me say all the time? Energy expands. What you focus on expands. Energy expands. So you've got to counterbalance with what Margie's suggesting and find 3 things that are good. And it's so funny because I've seen this in myself. There are certain days, why is this, where I just don't want to look at the good things. I want to mope around and feel crappy, like there's some kind of negative payoff or something. And I've seen that, and then it passes. But I can also see how you can really get stuck there if you aren't willing to shift. So I don't know. It's interesting. I've seen clients get stuck there, and I have to sometimes give. This is why it's so important to have a course like Margie's happiness course, or a coach, or a mentor, or a healing practitioner, because it is challenging to always fix yourself. People are always saying to me, "Oh, I'm trying to fix this for years," but we need each other. We're not supposed to be all alone in the world, trying to always just be an island by ourselves. We need each other. And I can turn to people that I trust, like Margie, and if I'm having a down day, and saying, would you set me straight here? Could you, I can't see out beyond the cloud. So again, it's just important to use the tools, practice the tips, and have other people in your life. And there's a saying, you become like the 5 people you surround yourself with, the 5 people you hang out with. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I so agree with that. And it makes a huge difference. And sometimes there are people that's what's taking them down. And you must feel this, Debora, because as a physical therapist, sometimes because energy is contagious, there'd be people who I'd see, and the negativity, and I had to truly learn techniques.
Yes.
So that I wouldn't there was one person in particular, I remember I'd come home and my husband knew exactly who I saw that day. And so I truly had to learn techniques that I had to do on myself, so that to keep my positivity up, but yes, people can absolutely, and I'm sure everybody can relate to that. There are certain people that when you see them, they just take you down.
Yeah, they're energy suckers, energy vampires. And if you don't have good boundaries there, you'll absorb it. And so
true.
Where we have empathy is great, but to take it home with you is not,
Yeah, my big thing is I always send out white light. That's my best, like when the person there, I just send them white light and fill myself with white light. And that I found really, really helps.
Well, it does. We have to this is why we have to put ourselves at the top of the health list. If you think that you can be loving and kind and giving to everybody under the sun and never take care of yourself, you're going to wake up one day, like I did, on the floor of my closet, crying your eyes out because you're out of energy, you feel like hell, and nothing's working in your life. Even though I was surrounded by beautiful things, clothes, furniture, a house, a husband, a job, I had everything. And I was miserable. Living on drugs, drinking myself, miserable, because my habits of thought, of emotion, and what I looked at every day was always on the negative. So I'm a firm believer in all of what you're sharing. And would you tell us a little more about the happiness program? Like what?
Oh, sure. So the happiness program it's 8 weeks, and it's once a week, and it's a module that's now recorded modules. And basically it goes in different areas. So like the first is all about how to, the foundation, that's being a victor, not a victim. We go in much more detail. The second is the power of the mind, and many techniques, what to do, not just, what can you do with all them, like how to clear things. And then it's the heart, different pillars, the heart, the soul, the body, and then the passion, which is the roof. It's like a house, and then the garden. So it's all those different areas. And then the best part, what I saw is, just like you said, you cannot do it alone. You can't. I just don't think people can take a happiness course and just say, "Oh yes, I'm going to do this, this, this." I don't think it works, and I've seen that when
about 3 days, like a diet, right? This is why nothing works.
And what I realized is that you need the group, because it's so easy. you are feeling good and you're in the zone and you're with people who are also doing these habits and you're feeling really great. And then you get back into your life and you can just fall out of it. And so anyway, when I decided, I didn't start the course like this, but afterwards I realized that I needed to add more to it. So for a year, every month we meet live during the course. We meet live. I call it the Happy Zone.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's so much fun. I love it because we just get together, and I also teach them new things, but it's just a matter of keeping in that zone and getting back to things. Because the world, unfortunately, you may be doing all these things and, you know, journaling, whatever techniques that you've learned that you like, and then you get back into the world and you just sort of forget about it. So anyway, that's my favorite part. I think that's really helped, that people have been, you know, coming once a month, or even if you can't come to listen to the replay once a month. But, and anyway, so that's the class, and it's been so much fun. And the funny thing is, because I teach all sorts of different classes. I mean, as a physical therapist, I've taught all sorts of things, and I love my osteoporosis class for what that is. But I've never taught anything as powerful as I just didn't realize how incredibly powerful this would be. And for me, it's so fun because it elevates my happiness.
Well,
So,
they say when you share pain, it is released and dissipates, decreases, but when you share the joy, everybody's is increased. So, and
so
you
true. Yeah.
keep it, you give it away, and that's what you're doing. It's so beautiful. Now, we just had a very timely comment. Bev said, with all the pain and fear going on now in the world, the societal message is to be unhappy. And today she said she was outside with her cat and she felt so happy. And it occurred to her that being happy is a way to help and not to feel guilty for feeling good. Isn't that
that's beautiful? Oh, I love that.
You win the prize.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. That's so lovely.
Deb, that is so beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Now, you guys, in a moment, we're going to do the meditation, but I'm going to post on the Facebook page and in the Zoom room, Colin, in fact, you could do that now if you're listening to me. There are 3 links, 2 free gifts that Margie has for you. One is a quiz called Happy for No Reason. And it's a quiz to find out where you're at on the happiness scale. And then she has a happiness morning meditation, which I know I'm going to sign up for and start doing first thing in the morning, right? And so there are 2 free gifts for you. Colin will post the link, and then I will also post them afterwards, after we get all finished recording. And then also the link to the Happy Me, Happy Life program. And I hope you'll all go check all of this out. Margie is just amazing. The programs are amazing. And we all need to be more happy and be leaders and show the way that it's okay to be happy, even with challenging times. We need to show people you don't have to always be, blue and down and heavy. It's heavy enough already being alive during this day and age. We need to lift the vibration and elevate it and bring the planet to a new vibration. And I just want to say that I don't think often you might not realize how important each one of you really is. Your vibration every day is affecting everyone that you're with. Everyone that you may not even be speaking to them. But just as Margie said, she had clients that would come in and she'd go home drained because they were so negative. You are emitting a vibration, a frequency, and it's either going to elevate or go to the basement with people. If you work on yourself, and this is the work we all have to do, and no one can force us, it's a choice. We make one person at a time. And if you choose to be happier and exercise that muscle and get happier, you're going to end up elevating other people around you. Your kids, your family, your coworkers, even on Zoom calls, you can feel people's energy. So this is important work. I personally think it is the most important work we can do. So that's my 2 cents, and I'm sticking to it. All right, Margie, before we go into, wait, there's another new message. Oh, thanks, Colin. So Colin has posted, let me make sure it went to everybody, to all panelists. Okay, I need to post this now. to all the attendees. I think it just went to the panelists. Hang on, everybody. I'm going to...
In the meantime, I just want to say also with the meditation is a journal. It's a 7-day happiness habits journal. So it goes through 7 days of different habits that you can try.
I love that. Tell us a little more about the gifts. And I just posted the links, you guys. You should be able to see these now to everybody. Yeah. For the Happy for No Reason quiz, the morning meditation, and the Happy Me Happy Life program. Those links are in Zoom and on Facebook. Tell us a little more.
Oh, the meditation. So it's the meditation, and the person, Jim Oliver, has the music, and he's just so talented, and even the music has a vibration to elevate you. And so, but also, so that's 7 minutes. And then the gift that's with that in the same packet is a journal that's 7 days of happiness habits. So that comes with it. Yeah.
I love it. All right, everybody. No more downer. Turn it up.
I love it.
Vibration up. All right. Let's do the meditation. All right. So everybody who's watching at any time, any place, except no driving, no operating equipment, machinery. You need to be in a safe space when you go into this section. And you can be sitting or lying down, but I want you to just get into as comfortable of a place as you can and close your beautiful eyes. And I'd like you to just notice your breathing and take in a breath of fresh, new life. This is the gift of life. Every breath you take is a gift. And now open your mouth and imagine you can sigh out all the heavy burdens of life, breathing them out. Relax your low belly and slowly breathe in another beautiful, slow, long gift breath of life. Like you're filling up with new energy, new vibration. And then open your mouth and consciously let go of any pain, suffering, burdens that you're carrying. And one more time, breathe in the new life force energy that's in infinite supply. And think about that infinite supply of new energy. And then you can easily let go because there's plenty more waiting for you. There's no need to hold on to anything. And as you breathe in and out now, just regular, normal, easy, effortless breathing. Breathe in and out. I'd like you to remember, imagine, you can even make it up and pretend, but I'd like you to go to a time in your life, even if it was just a brief moment where you were really happy. And I'd like you to remember, imagine, I'd like you to picture and sense and feel that whole experience again. It may be recent, it may be from the past, and you're welcome to make it up and literally just imagine a happy moment when you were really happy. And I want you to, in the way that you imagine, maybe you're able to picture very easily, maybe not, it doesn't matter. If you can picture it, I'd like you to see, notice, how are you standing? What does your posture look like? What does your face look like? And if you're not good at visualizing, I know I'm not, just imagine what was your posture like? What does your face look like when you're happy? Imagine that. Notice the colors around you in this place, this situation where you're happy. What are the sounds going on? What do you hear? Are there sounds from nature? Are other people talking? Are you talking? What are the sounds that you notice in this happy place? Listen to those sounds or imagine what sounds would be there. How do you feel? Remember how it felt if you're remembering a past happy experience. Or imagine how it would feel. Imagine how it does feel right now to be happy in that experience. Picture it, see it, hear it, listen to it, feel it. And now, in your right hand, I want you to imagine you're holding a remote control. And I want you to turn it all the way down so that you don't see the colors and hear it and feel the happy experience. Turn it way down, dim it till it's almost black and dark. And now I want you to turn it up, dial it up to full blast. Turn up the colors, the sound, the feelings, the sensations, all of it. Turn that memory up. Turn that experience up with the remote, as big and bold and bright, exaggerated as you can possibly make it. And feel into that. And notice the feeling. Notice where you feel it the strongest in your body. And if that feeling had a color, what color would the happiness be? And now I want you to imagine that color, that happy color, that happy feeling flowing through your whole body right now, like liquid light, like liquid paint. Imagine it flowing through every cell, every part, every organ, every area of your entire body. And imagine that liquid happiness flowing out your fingertips, out your toes, flowing out the top of your head like a waterfall, flowing so fully that it just bubbles over and surrounds you. And it keeps recirculating in you and flowing out like a waterfall, like a fountain, and flowing and flowing and flowing into eternity. And just feel into that, imagine that, picture. Whatever way you imagine is perfect. Take a moment to really feel this, receive this, experience this. We'll take 20 full seconds to absorb this. Now, very, very slowly, I want you to press your thumb and your index finger together. And anytime you want to return to this incredible feeling, this happy experience and all the feelings and colors and sensations that come with it, just press your thumb and your index finger together, and you will return to the cellular memory. Now take a deep, long breath in and let out a beautiful sigh out your mouth. Stretch your arms overhead and breathe in. And exhale and let it all go. And come all the way back now. One more breath in and out, and come all the way back, bringing that joy with you. Beautiful. Oh my God, look at you. You're even happier than you were before, Margie.
Oh my God, this was so amazing. You are just so incredible, Deborah. Every time I'm with you with any of your energy, my whole body, it's amazing.
I love it. Wow.
I feel like amazing. That was so incredible.
So happy. Anybody else feel that? If you could feel something happening, type yes on Facebook, yes in the chat. There's a couple hands up. Yes, I see some hands going up. If you have a question, you can also type that in the chat. We'll take another couple minutes here if there's more questions, and make sure you cut and paste those links so you can have Margie's free gift. Also, we're going to send out the replay of all of this tomorrow, and I'll post it on Facebook as well. So I will be sure to send everybody the link to the Happy for No Reason quiz, the link to the Happiness Morning Meditation, and then the link to Margie's Happy Me, Happy Life program. Oh, there's a lot of new questions. Okay. Oh, people are saying thank you. Yes, yes, thanks so much. That was wonderful. Thank you for being here, Mark. Bev is saying thank you. This is so good. Thank you for the call. Thank you, Bev. Yes, I bounced around through several happy memories, Gail said. Awesome, Gail. That's great. You have more than one to choose from. I like that. Thumbs up to Gail. Chelsea said that was amazing. Thank you. Thanks for being here, Chelsea. You are a shining, bright, happy light yourself. Sandra, awesome. Lillian, oh my God. Thanks, you guys. Wait, 7 new more messages. Tammy, thank you. Thank you from Nancy. Thank you from Carol. We're a good team, aren't we? I think we really match everything you say, Margie. I just so resonate with it.
Well, that's how I feel, Deborah. I'm like on cloud 9. I just love being with you because I just so respect the work you do. And you, from the minute I met you, you're just so amazing, honestly.
No, I mean this. You carry a vibration. It is palpable. And I feel happier even when I just think of you. And I want you all to really get this. There are people, when you just think about them, you're going to feel happier because of their energetic vibration. That's how important this is. And there are other people, when you think about them, you just like, ugh, right? Energy, everything's energy. That's where it's got to start. That's the work we have to do. And I don't know about you, but I'm willing to do what it takes to keep my energy high and happy. I don't want to live life down and Debbie Downer and depressed. I just don't want to do it. I spent too much time there, too much energy there. It wasn't fun. I've heard so many people, Deepak Chopra, who's someone I highly respect, he said once, the purpose of life is to be happy. Whoa. I remember hearing that and going, really? Are you kidding me? Like, I thought it was, to work hard. And I'm guilty of that. I grew up, again, in that family that was all about hard work. So I'll have a tendency to get too serious and work hard until I'm exhausted and then wonder why I feel like crap. It's because I wasn't focused on a balanced, happy life. Anyway, enough out of me. Margie, what would you like to leave them with? What's the most, if you could only pick one thing about happiness, what would that be?
Oh gosh, oh my God, there's so many things. But I think to make it important, I think just to realize that your happiness is really important and to just evaluate it. If it's not, then start making the changes because as I said, there's one life, why not enjoy it? It can be. It doesn't, so that's, I guess, just to enjoy life and just take each day as a gift. And how do you want to use this day? And what And so, and if you're not there, then just sort of look at your life and see where you can make changes, and use the contraction, expansion, sort of go through your day, sort of seeing, how do things make you feel?
I
So,
love that. Remember what she taught. It really, really stood out to me. The contraction or the expansion, that's going to tell you how you feel about everything you do all day long. And that's the key.
and you can create what you focus on grows, just like you said too, Deborah. So focus on, just see what you're focusing on. What are you spending your days focusing on? Because you want to grow it.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. I could talk to you forever. I wish we've gone way over an hour. I don't even know. It goes so fast when you're people that you love and respect. But thank you for taking time out of your life to be here with us. I'm going to bring her back, and we're going to do another show just on bones. So those of you that wrote in with bone questions, I have not forgotten you, but we're going to come back and talk all things bones, and tap into the other side of her expertise on another call. So Margie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Gratitude and
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the community. I feel the energy here too. It's so
good.
It's so great. So thank you so much. It's been so much fun.
Thanks everyone who's been on the Zoom webinar. Thanks Facebook friends. I love you all. I will post everything, send you the replay. You have to be on the email list to get the replay. So if you want it, go to highspeed-healing-Wednesdays. Colin, would you type that in? Make sure you're registered for this call, and then you'll get the replays, and you'll get the invitations to all the High Speed Healing Wednesday calls coming down the pike. All right, love you everybody. Bye for now.